Hey guys, Professor Bill here, Comic Book University, and I have just read a comic with the longest title I've probably ever read before. I've just read The Dark Tower, The Drawing of the Three, The Sailor, issue number 105. Now, I got this because it's an issue one, and I thought maybe I could just jump on. Now, in advance, please understand, I am one of those people who I like Stephen King. He's good stuff, but I've never actually read The Dark Tower. Any of the seven books. I believe there were seven in the series, if I'm remembering correctly. I never read any of them. I've never read any of the comic books before. I've never seen anything. I'm kind of hoping a movie comes out. I could just watch that instead because seven books right now, with all that I'm doing in my life, that's a lot to devote to. Yeah. The little bit of knowledge I do have of it is I have a buddy who once told me about the novels, and he said that it's basically a gunfighter who gets a very limited amount of ammo, and he's got to travel the lands and try and figure out everything that's going on and right wrongs and be a good guy, but he's got limited ammo. But he makes it count because he's the best shot going, and he's just, a gunslinger. That's pretty much the info I got. I also heard spoilers later on that the clown Pennywise, excuse me, Periwinkle. Pennywise is actually one of the bad guys in this, second only to Randolph Black, I think was his name, from The Stand, which is my favorite Stephen King novel. I've actually watched the four-part miniseries multiple times. I had it on VHS and I actually wore out the tape. It was that I loved it that much. I don't care what any of you say. I really did like it that much. Had some really good jump scares in the beginning. Anyway, with my fairly average scope of Stephen King, I decided, you know what? Let me give this a try. It's an issue number one. Maybe I'll get some insight into this universe because I'm certain that they're going to wind up they're doing so much with the comics right now. I'm certain they're going to make something out of this. Not just a movie series. They might wind up doing some Netflix original series out of it, in fact, because there seems to be so much going around. And Stephen King is the creative director and the executive director of this comic, which is, boom, that's great. Robin Firth is the plot and consultation. The script was done by Peter David. I like Peter David's work. Artist, Juan N. Ramirez. I am sorry if I'm butchering your name, sir. With my limited knowledge of the Gunslinger, this was not a very good jumping on point. Guys, I literally know very little about the Gunslinger. I feel like reading this actually made it worse for me. They were able to expend 6 bullets from his gun just for basic training of some girl in a wheelchair, which was okay. I guess that's the only way that they're going to be able to train, but where are they getting the bullets from then? Can they save the rounds and remelt them and reforge new bullets? I mean, I don't understand what I'm seeing here. There's a kid, Jake Chambers. In the very beginning, he's the narrator, and he says that he died when he was 11 years old. He was pushed in front of a car by a priest. I did a little bit of looking online. They said it could be one of 3 different people. I don't know who any of those 3 people are. Randall Flagg, not Randall Black. It just came to my mind. Randall Flagg is the main bad guy from The Stand. Duh. But anyway, yeah, he was murdered and sent to Midworld, which is where the gunslinger is. I didn't know that. The gunslinger is Roland, and the gunslinger apparently sacrificed this kid, Jake. I don't know if that happened before or after. This is a very confusing comic. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because this comic actually bugged me. Now, if you are someone who is entrenched or even a casual fan of the Gunslinger books, the Dark Tower books, maybe you were able to actually jump onto this. I wish that I would have actually asked somebody, but I'm not going to be able to talk to somebody until next week at the comic book store that I go to. So I didn't get to ask anybody about this and say, how'd you feel about it? I'd like to have been able to do like a man on the street-esque interview for this comic, but I had no idea whatsoever what was going on, and reading it was very off and very off-putting. I was extremely disappointed with reading this comic because it didn't even have something that gave you a backstory. You, quite literally, I'm telling you this as someone who wants to jump onto this but can't, and has no backstory with this, no background with this. I was incapable of jumping onto this. I'd have to do too much research, or I'd have to go and read the books. And you know what? If you're trying to sell a comic book, you don't want to have prerequisites to jumping on the comic book. It's just not one of the things. The Dark Tower is not like Spider-Man. Everybody knows Spider-Man's origin. Everybody knows Superman and Batman's origin. You don't need a backstory with those characters. You can jump onto you could jump onto an issue 500 and you'll be okay for the most part. But this, sorry, Dark Tower is not popular enough that I know the backstory, and they didn't even have one of those splash intro pages where they gave you a briefer backstory. You jump right into the story, which is a narration from a kid who says that he's dead, and I'm just a little bit confused. I really do wish this was better. I really wish this was so much better. I'm going to, next month, I will read the comic in the comic book store, and if I dig it, then I will purchase it. If not, I'm going to leave it there, and there will not be a review of The Dark Tower, The Drawing of the Three, The Sailor, issue number 2 of 5. That's such a long-winded title. So, yeah, that's really my brief take on this comic. I'm not only disappointed, I'm disappointed over something that could have actually been fairly easily fixed with just simply a beginning page where they give the details. Even popular characters get what happened recently in a story. And from what I looked online, this has something to do with a story that happened before. And they didn't even give you that. So, for an issue 1 especially, horrible jumping on point. I can't recommend this book unless you know the Gunslinger stories yourselves. If you're jumping on for the first time like me, not a good place to start. Anyways, guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, class dismissed.